Saral Japani, Japanese learning made easy. Konnichiwa minasan. Hey friends, how are you? Welcome to Saral Japani YouTube channel. This is the series called Japanese Lessons for Beginners, in which we learn elementary Japanese in a highly simplified manner. I am your friend Sujoy, bringing you the 111th lesson of this series today, and the topic for today is Rules of Verb Conjugation, Part 1. This is an extremely important area of Japanese grammar, friends, where we shall learn how stem verbs are converted to their formal mass forms. So, although today's chapter is dedicated on verbs, but this is not the first time we are discussing about verbs. We, from time to time, we have learned several things about verbs, but in a very simplified manner. So today, and in fact from now onwards, we shall deep dive into the area of verbs, and we shall try to learn some extremely important concepts of verbs in Japanese grammar. So what did we learn so far? We learned the des form. We started with the des form. Des, which means am, is, or are in the present affirmative. Deshita in the past. Deva arimasen, that is present negative, which means am not, is not, or are not. And then we have deva arimasen deshta, which is the past negative. So this is for this. And when we use the mas form, we have the verb conjugated with mas or mashita, masen or masendeshita. So these you already know where to use this and where to use mas. This we have already learned several times earlier. And then we learned the use of various particles for different verbs. The use of ni, a, o, and de particles, how they are used in between the object and the verb. So these concepts we have learned earlier in this series. We shall now take this forward in today's lesson. So in this table you can see the four mass forms of the verb iku. Iku is the stem verb. It is called stem or the base form. It is also called plain form, and it is also called root verb. So iku is the stem or the base from which we have ikimas, ikimasen, ikimashita, and ikimasendeshita, which are called the mass forms. And this stem iku is also called jishokei. In Japanese, the plain form of the verb is called jishokei, and verb is called doshi. And the masen, mashita, and masendeshita, these are called conjugations because these give the tense of the verb. So in today's lesson, we shall learn the rules of how to convert the base verb into the mass forms. That is how iku becomes ikimas, how iku becomes ikimashita, ikimasen, or ikimasendeshita. What rules govern that conversion? We shall look into it today. Different conjugations are used to give appropriate meaning to the thought involving tense, affirmative or negative, tone, and several factors. So what does that mean? It means unless we conjugate the base verbs, we don't know what is the tense of that verb, whether that action has already been performed or is about to perform, whether it will be performed or it will not be performed. So all these information can be depicted using the conjugation part. Now, ikimas means I go or I will go. Ikimasen means I don't go or I won't go. Ikimashita, I went. Ikimasen deshita, I didn't go. So this is an example how the conjugations can give proper meaning to the base verbs. So the four forms that we have learned so far, that is mas, masen, mashita, and masendeshita. These four forms we have uh, learned. But do you think that it is enough? These four forms are enough to express all the types of actions that are being performed? for a particular verb. For example, if we want to say I want to go, then how I will say? I cannot say watashi wa ikimasu. So that will give the meaning I go, I will go, but it will not give the meaning I want to go. Similarly, I have to go, I cannot go, I should have gone, I would like to go, I was about to go, I am going, I was going, I could have gone. And there can be many, many more such combinations. So how to express these? So that means mas, masen, mashita and masendeshita are not the only four conjugations available, but there will be many more other conjugations, and depending on what kind of thought we want to convey, we have to use that conjugation. But that is not the topic for today. Our topic is how we convert a root verb into mass form, that is Mas, Masen, Mashta, and Masendeshta. So there are several rules that govern that, and in today's lesson we shall be learning that. So here we bring again the same example: ikimas, ikimasen, ikimashta, and ikimasen deshta. So now let's consider the different parts of these words. First one, as you can see, it is the kanji, and which indicates the stem kanji. This is also called the stem kanji or the base kanji, which is only a thought. It doesn't convey any tense. It doesn't convey any affirmative or negative. That is whether the expression is in a positive note or on a negative note. That information is not available in this, and it is not also able to say anything about the context of the sentence. So it simply implies that someone is related to a change in the place, location. That is, someone is going somewhere, or he has gone, or whatever. So anything related to go is depicted by this symbol. And then the conjugation mas, masen, mashta, masendeshta, that provides the tense of the verb. So along with the stem kanji and the ending, we can now convey some meaning or some logical sense to this word. Now, what is the middle one? What is the middle one? That is this key. So we will come to that little later. Before that, unless the hiragana verb ending depicting the tense, tone, etc. is added, the stem verb alone expressed using a kanji character cannot give any meaning to the sentence, as we just said. The stem kanji will only convey the base action being performed, but without any information about the properties of its occurrence or non-occurrence. So again, the same thing that we just discussed. So together with the stem kanji and the hiragana verb ending, we can give meaning to some verb in Japanese. Kanji tells us the theme of action, while hiragana ending tells us the tense. So both are important, both are mandatory. Now, what is the key? And as we know that the base verb is iku, so how iku becomes iki? So we understand the kanji, we understand the ending mas, masen, mashta, but how ku becomes ki? How iku becomes iki? Why it is not ikumas? Why it is ikimas? So what is governing that change? So that we shall see in today's lesson. Now, in simple or direct sentences, the stem verb is always suffixed with a hiragana conjugation. So a simple or a direct sentence. So far in this course, we have been dealing with simple sentences only. That means a simple SVO structured sentence. That is, there is a subject, there can be a dependent subject as well, a topic as well, then followed by the object or a secondary subject, and finally the verb. So we have been learning sentence examples using this simple structure only. And that's why whenever we used a verb, it was always suffixed with hiragana conjugation. For example, watashi wa rokuji ni okimasu. I wake up at 6 o'clock. This is a simple sentence. Watashi wa mainichi rokuji ni okimasu. So this okimasu is the verb, and it has the hiragana conjugation mas, okimasu. However, in compound sentences, so what is a compound sentence? A compound sentence is one in which there may be multiple verbs and there may be clause. So for example, uh, I want to go to Japan to see Mount Fuji, for example. So here you can see in this sentence there are two verbs. One is I want to go. So go verb is there, iku, and another is to see or to view Mount Fuji, which may be mimas. So mimas and uh, ikimas, two verbs are there. But the problem is that we cannot use two mas forms of two verbs in the same sentence. So that will again be governed by certain rules. So in compound sentences in which we want to convey several things in the same sentence involving multiple verbs, the stem verb is also needed to be used in its base or plain form for certain verbs in the sentence depending on the context and the meaning. So this is the thing that I just said. So we can use only one verb in its mas form. For the other verb, we have to use either its root form, that is the stem verb, or some other form which we will see later as we move along. So in compound sentences, there may be multiple verbs and they may appear in their base form as well. And at most one verb will be in the mas form. There are certain rules that govern the use of plain form and conjugations verb endings in a compound sentence. The mas form can be used only at the end of a sentence. So this is the first rule. The mas form can be used only at the end of a sentence. Watashi wa mainichi rokuji ni okimasu. So the sentence will end with mas or mashita or masen or masendeshita. This is governed by the SOV. This is the SVO structure. This is not SOV. I'm sorry for that. This is SV. Oh, sorry. This is SOV only. Anyways. Yeah, SOV, sentence structure in Japanese grammar. A sentence can have only one verb ending in the mas form. So as we just discussed, so first of all, the mas form can be used only at the end of a sentence, and there can have each sentence can have only one verb that ends in the mas form. If there are multiple verbs, then the rest of the verbs will be either in their plain form or in some other form, but not in the mas form. And the third rule is that if there are multiple verbs in a sentence, for example, a compound sentence, then for all other verbs, either the plain form or some other form will be used. That is, only the main verb will end in a mas form. So all these 3 points are intertwined with each other. So the concept is now clear that there can be only one mas form verb in a sentence, and rest all verbs, if present in the sentence, will have either the stem form or some other form. So friends, now we studied the 4 categories of verbs in one of our previous lessons. So I will put the link of that lesson in the description section of this video so that you can refer quickly. So we will have a recap or a quick summary of what we learned about these 4 categories of verbs, because these categories will define which rule to be used for the conjugation to transform these root verbs into their mas forms. So there are 4 categories of verbs in Japanese grammar: group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. So let's look into these one by one. Group 3 verbs, there are just 2 verbs in group 3, suru and kuru, and these are called irregular verbs. Suru means to do, kuru means to come. So suru is same as shimas in the mas form, and kuru is same as kimas or kimashita in the mas form. They do not follow any pattern. They don't fit in group 1 and group 2. So that's why they are called irregular verbs. And they are part of thus group 3. Next is group 2. In group 2, we have those verbs that end in the sound iru or eru in their base forms. So friends, here it is very useful to use the Romaji form, because then we can very clearly see what is happening to these vowels and the consonants. For example, iru and eru. So here if we write in Japanese, then these may not be clear, because the the vowels get hidden into the consonant, because we have in Japanese separate symbols for separate sounds, unlike in English or any other language where vowels are can distinctly be identified. So if we write in Romaji, then it will be more clear. So verbs that end in IRU or ERU in Roman in their base forms are the group 2 verbs. So what could be some examples? Miru, that is to see. Miru, akeru, to open. Taberu, to eat. Neru, to sleep. Then we have shiraberu, means to look into, and shimeru, to occupy. So as you can see in all of these, the ending is iru and or eru. So this is the thing, miru. So you do not see any iru in Japanese form. That's why I said that if we write in English or in Roman, then it is clearly visible that there is IRU. And similarly, ERU in akeru, ERU in taberu, ERU in neru, ERU in shiraberu, and again ERU in shimeru. So in this way, group 2 verbs are those that end in iru or eru. Now in group 1, we have verbs that end in u. So there will be u at the end. For example, au, to meet. Kau, to buy. Yomu, to read. Savaru, to touch. Suvaru, to sit. Gambaru, to work hard. Nomu, to drink. Kaku, to write, and kiku, to listen or to ask. Now most verbs fall in this group 1. So most of the Japanese verbs belong to this category. Some verbs even end in iru or eru due to exceptions. So there may be some exceptions due to which some iru and eru ending verbs can also be put in group 1 instead of group 2. So that we will come across later. And then we have the group 4, which are called noun verbs, because here a noun word combines with suru or shimas to give a verb. For example, benkyo suru or benkyo shimas, which means to study. Benkyo is a noun, means study, and when we add suru or shimas, it becomes to study. So study becomes the verb form in benkyo suru or benkyo shimas. Similarly, unten shimas means to drive, that is driving a car. Unten suru or unten shimas. So unten is driving, which is a noun, and when we add shimas at the end, it becomes a verb. So these are called noun verbs. So in this way, these are the 4 categories of verbs in Japanese that we have studied earlier. So why I recapped here? Because we will now see for each of these groups how we can convert these base forms, because in this slide whatever verbs we have mentioned are all in their base forms like miru, akeru, kau, au. So how these will get converted to the mass form, we will see now. So basically the lesson begins now. Stem to mass form conversion for group 2 verbs. That is, we will start with group 2. Group 2 verbs are called ru verbs. As we have seen, they end in iru or eru. They are also called vowel ending verbs or vowel stem verbs. Why this is so? This is because when we remove ru to make mass form, there is a vowel ending in the stem. In the stem means in the remaining portion of the stem. For example, take the case of miru. If we remove ru, then what is the remaining stem? Me. And me, we have a vowel E at the end. For example, another example, let's take Neru. If we remove ru, then there is ne. That means we have a at the end, which is a vowel. So that's why this is a vowel stem verb or vowel ending verb. Similarly for taberu, If we remove ru, it becomes tabe. So ending is e, it is a vowel. So that's why these verbs are all, group 2 verbs are all vowel stem verbs. Now these examples show how to convert the group 2 stem verb into its mass form. So as you can see, Neru, we simply remove ru. So Neru minus ru. We simply remove ru and add mas. That means Neru becomes nemas. Taberu becomes tabemas. Because from taberu we remove the ru and simply add mas. It becomes tabemas. So you can see the color coding. Neru, we remove the ru and we add mas. That gives ne, because only the ne is remaining here from Neru, and then we add mas, nemas. So Neru becomes nemas, Taberu becomes tabemas, Miru becomes mimas, Kiru becomes kimas, Shiraberu becomes shirabemas, Akeru means Akeru becomes akemas, and Shimeru becomes shimemas. So we will look into the meaning of each of these in a later slide. So this is how group 2 stem verbs are converted to their mass form. So mass form, this is present, but for past also it will be the same. Nemas, nemashta, nemasen, nemasendeshta. Tabemas, tabemasen, tabemashta, tabemasendeshta. Mimas, mimashta, mimasen, mimasendeshta. In this way, all these mass forms can be derived. Next is stem to mass form conversion for group 1 verbs. Now group 1 verbs are called U verbs because they end in U, and they are also called consonant ending verbs. So group 2 verbs are vowel ending verbs. Consonant verbs are the group 1 verbs. Why they are called consonant stem verbs? Because when we remove U or when we remove U to make the mass form, there is a consonant ending in the stem. For example, cow. For example, cow. Let's take the example of this. So just see, when we convert yomu to its mass form, for example, yomu means to read. So you can see here yomu minus u. So we have to remove the u to make it in the mass form, and then we add imas. So if we remove u, then what is left? Yom. So m is the consonant here, which is before u, and when we remove u, so the remaining portion of the stem verb ends in a consonant. That's why these group 1 verbs are called consonant stem verbs. So there are some exceptions also. For example, au. So here if we remove u, then it's a vowel similar for cow, but still in general this is what it is called. So we remove u and we add imas. So now it's not only mas but it's imas. So this is a very, very important rule. You should keep this in mind. So this distinguishes the conversion rule of group 2 verbs and group 1 verbs. So here you do not add only mas but you add imas. So what was in group 1? In group 1 we just removed the ru from the end and we added mas directly. But for group 1 we have to remove the u at the end and we have to add imas instead of mas. So yomu becomes yomimas, nomu becomes nomimas, savaru becomes savarimas, suvaru becomes suvarimas, kiku becomes kikimas, cow becomes kaimas, au becomes aimas, and kaku becomes kakimas. And this is the reason why iku becomes ikimas. So from where we started today's lesson, we said at the time that we will learn later. So here is that thing. Iku becomes ikimas because from iku we remove the u, it remains as ik, and then we add imas. So it becomes ikimas. So this is the rule for group 1 verbs. Now next is the group 4 verbs. We will see how to deal with group 4. Group 4 verbs are called noun verbs, as we just said. To convert from stem to mass form, we need to perform below two actions. The uru of suru is replaced with imas. So this is again similar to group 1. So uru of suru become replaced with imas, and the su of suru is replaced with she. This is because we have to convert from u to e form, just like we did for group 1. So here in the line of sa shi su se so, at the e sound we have she and not c. So that's why su does will not become c, but it will become she. That's why suru becomes shimas. So as you can see, uru will be replaced with imas, and the s before the u will become sh, that is sh. So suru will become shimasu because it is imas. So that means benkyo suru will become benkyo shimas because we have to remove the suru and add the shimas. So uru becomes imas and sa becomes sha. So benkyo suru becomes benkyo shimas, unten suru becomes unten shimas, denwa suru becomes denwa shimas, and so on. So this is the rule for group 4 verbs. Next should be group 3 because we didn't do group 3. So in group 3 we have suru and kuru. So suru is again similar to this. Kuru we will do in the next lesson. So that needs some special treatment. So we will look into that later. But just to give you an idea, similar to surushimas, kuru becomes kimas. So there also we just need to replace uru with imas and ka remains ka. So ku becomes kimas. Kuru becomes kimas. So there is no special rule for that. It's similar to this surushimas. Kuru becomes kimas. So kuru, kimas, kimashita, kimasen, kimasen deshita. Indokara kimashita. Indokara kimashita. Nihon e kimashita. Indokara Nihon e kimashita. I came to Japan from India. So this is that verb kuru. So now exceptions in group 1 verbs. There are always certain exceptions when we deal with any kind of grammar in any language. There are always some exceptions. There cannot be a language in which there are no exceptions. So even though there are rules, but there are definitely exceptions in everything. So here as well, group 1 verbs is no exception. So there are exceptions in that. In case of group 1 verbs, there are several exceptions. That means there are several verbs that do not follow the rule of mass form conversion that we just discussed. The exceptions are, however, not noticed in the present form. So we have been doing mostly the present form. So you may not notice the exceptions in the present form, but they are mostly noticeable in the past tense form of the verbs and also some other forms of those verbs. These exceptions are for stem verbs that end in ku, gu, u, su, nu, au, su, and mu. So that means the stem verbs that end in this. For example, for stem form of verbs that end in ku, for example, kaku or kiku. Then examples of stem verbs that end in gu is isogu, nugu. Then that ends in bu is tobu or yobu. For su, it can be tatsu and matsu. Then for nu, it can be shinu. For au, it can be kau, au, sau, or warau. Su ending group 1 stem verbs may be hanas and kas. And similarly for mu, it can be yomu or nomu. So these are examples of verbs of group 1 which end in these 8 sounds that has exceptions. So as we can see in this slide, there are exceptions for 2 kinds of endings. So if the verb ends in su, then the mass form becomes tachimas. So tatsu becomes tachimasu, because again the same thing, because here it is tsu, it is the u form of tachi tsu teto. So since the sound is chi, ta chi tsu te to, you already know that. So it's not ta ti tsu te to, it's ta chi. So that's why it is tachimas. And same goes with matsu, which becomes machimas and not matsimas. Excuse me. And similarly for su, again sa shi su se so. That's why hanasu becomes hanashimas, because we have to take the e form since imas gets added. So the sa becomes she, because we cannot write hanasimas. It will always be hanashimas. So these are the exceptions in the present tense. Now there will be exceptions. There are more exceptions in the past tense, which we will learn in the next lesson. We have something more to learn in today's lesson. So we will deal with the past tense in the next lesson of this series. So today we will deal with the present tense of some more verbs. So these are the group 1 verbs. This is a complete list. So this is a very useful list which you can memorize so that you know all these verbs of group 1. So let's go one by one. First one is ikimas. Stem verb is iku, means to go. And if you see here, we have written this in hiragana, ikimas, and we have also written the kanji and the stem form, iku. So the red color means that the first of all, the red color indicates the kanji, the stem kanji in each of these. And in the hiragana version, we have highlighted that part of hiragana which the kanji corresponds to. That means E here in this E is referred to by this kanji, and ku becomes kimas. So that's why ku and kimas are in black. So this is the hiragana ending kimas. Similarly, kairimas, the root verb is kairu, which means to return home. And in this form, kai is the stem kanji, and rimas comes from ru. So ru becomes rimas. So kairu becomes kairimas. Now next is aimas, au, to meet. So this is the aimas and this is au. So only a sound is being conveyed by this kanji. Next is kaimas, that is to purchase or to buy. We have nomimas, nomu, to drink. So as you can see, the no sound is represented by this kanji no. And we have mu, which becomes mimas. Yomimas, then we have hashirimas, which means to run. Hashirimas comes from the stem verb hashiru. So this is the kanji for hashiru. So among these kanji, some of these we have already done in our regular kanji lesson. For example, we have done this one. We have also done the kikimas. This we have done, and rest also we will be doing soon, one by one. Then we have suvarimas, which means to sit, comes from suvaru, and this is the kanji for that. And suva is the part of the mass form which will be denoted by this kanji, and ru will become rimas. Kakimas, to write, kikimas, to listen or to ask, arukimas, to walk, aruku. Then we have kirimas or kiru, which means to cut. So see here, very interesting thing. In kikimas, this kanji gives the corresponding sound of ki, and here also kirimas, we have this kanji which has the same reading ki. So that means hiragana is not sufficient to depict all these, isn't it? So both gives the key. So how you will know which one belongs to what? So here comes the importance of kanji, that without kanji we cannot convey anything. That's why for all verbs the stem is always written in kanji, and the verb ending, the conjugation, is written in hiragana. So if although we have written like this here to Since this is a beginner's course, but when you learn all these kanjis, you must write these kanjis instead of these red portions of this hiragana. So this is not correct in the formal language sense. So this may not give any meaning if you write in hiragana. Then we have kirimas means to cut and hatarakimas which means to work. Hataraku is the stem verb. So you can see the kanji and which gets replaced by this hiragana hatara and ku becomes kimas. So friends, that's all for today's lesson. We learned verb conjugation from stem to mass form for the four categories of Japanese verbs. We shall continue in the next lesson the same topic, and in which we shall learn about the how the past forms get modified, like the exceptions that we just discussed, the exceptions in past tense form of the mass form, and some more concepts we will learn in the next part. So today was the part 1 of verb conjugation. In the next lesson we shall our topic will be rules of verb conjugation part 2. So I hope you have understood, and I have been able to explain in a very simplified manner. So most of these things you have earlier also learned in our lessons only. But in today's lesson, we learned actually the rules that govern those conversions. So earlier also you did iku and you made it ikimas, but today you came to know how it is being done. Why iku becomes ikimas, how ku becomes ki, and so on. So thanks for watching this video. We shall bring the next lesson soon, and keep learning. So thank you so much. Arigato gozaimasu. Matai masho.